So I asked Spirit what was the best way to start this, because I have so much to say and not a lot of time to say it. And I feel like I want to come correct with a lot of things, but at the same time, we are ever changing beings anyway, but especially at a time like this, we're going to change minute by minute, emotions. And so I came on here because I know I haven't really spoke to you guys, like just the Instagram tribe, in a while. Obviously, you guys know so much has been going on in my life, but then I needed to redirect my focus into like spirit work and focusing on myself and my relationship and just everything. And I've stepped away from social media and stepped away from the internet. I did for a week straight, which was amazing. And I forgot like how happy I am and more grounded and centered I am when I don't pay attention to what's going on in the outer world. But as it drew closer, I was peeking in a little bit here and there. And so today, or I should say the last few days, I've been looking around. There's been a lot of things that have been around. And so I've, again, poking around here, poking around there, obviously with the election. And I implore you to remember your divinity. Remember why you're here. To focus, to really focus on yourself and your own tribe. It's nice that we have tribes all over the world. That's wonderful. But also, it's our near and dear tribes. And for a lot of us that are suffering, it's self-inflicted, But I also understand that the flip side of that is that if you're still here, you're a really emotional being, or you're a very highly intelligent being that is learning more about their emotions. And I've been having that with Edward, and we've been having these moments where like we have been like dragged back down. It's like we're like fa la 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 la. We're in like Smurf land. We're super happy, and then all of a sudden it's like, and it's like this comes out of nowhere. Yesterday we had this like massive, where I was like, I don't even know where it was coming from. And, and then I was like, oh yeah, I was gently reminded that it's the end of Mercury retrograde. Mercury went direct on Tuesday. And, it's, as my friend Stacy said, it's like, I think you said it, Stacy. I read a few things in the last few days, but they were talking about the fringe of it. And I was like, oh yes, like lest we forget, right? So when we have these big transits, or we have these big, huge things that happen astrologically, when those things happen, it's not like things just go back into place and it's like, oh, it's an easy, the metaphor I've been getting lately from Spirit is like, if you dislocate your nose or your shoulder, it's like, oh, and then somebody comes in and like, shh, they put it back in place and you're like, oh, okay, oh, that feels better. That feels better. Oh, it feels better. It's like it's still sore. It needs to heal, but it's like, it's not like, we don't have this instantaneous thing right now. The energy that's floating all over the planet is just that. It's energy, and people are popping off each other with so many different things. And just like, and why, one of the reasons why I really have been sitting with Spirit about this, and Edward and I, kind of had this like eureka moment yesterday. And I realized, I'm like, the reason that I personally didn't vote and why I had a hard time voting was because I don't feel like I have a hat in this fight, or whatever they call it, a ring in this fight, or whatever that term is, analogy. I don't have a fight. This isn't my fight. It is, but it isn't. I am here. Basically, what I've been seeing is that there's just so many things that are happening, and we've all been coming through it at different levels of our consciousness, right? And we're all like healing through different levels of our consciousness. But at the same time, as people are changing, there are a lot of sheeple out there, a lot of sheeple. And so we have to be mindful of how we're leading these sheep, right? We have to be really mindful of our intentions and our actions and the words that we use. It's very, very important. It's very vital right now that we remember who we are and stand in our divinity against whatever it is that isn't working for you or around you. And right now, the sheeple I love that some of them are like, yes, like Jesus is coming, and I'm like, that's cool. Like I had this amazing conversation with this beautiful Christian woman last Friday, and the next day Ed was like, he said his head was just like spinning. Like he goes, I was fascinated watching you having a conversation with her. And he goes, you were so calm and whatever. And I go, well, because that's her languaging around it. I'm like, I know that the 1111 portal is like the return of like the Lemurians, like the Christ consciousness. I'm like, but to her, it's Jesus. I'm like, I have a different look at Jesus. I have a different relationship with Jesus. Like in my understanding, in my meditations with Jesus, when we would sit and talk about it, he's like, I remember the one time he said to me, he's like, when you speak with Raphael, what do you call him for? And I didn't understand what he was saying, but he's like, Raphael for healing. He's like, Michael for protection, Gabriel for the messengers. And we can go on and on with all the archangels, right? And Jesus was like, I'm love. He's like, I'm love. He's like, so he is like the child of God, goddess, whatever, right? Because love is all there is. But Jesus doesn't look at himself above or below any other energy or entity. And some of us, like myself, I believe I come from a realm that is either I am an archangel or I definitely come from the angel realm. I definitely am a Lemurian. And I believe that so many of us are. And a lot of you that are here, it's like, it's okay if we use the word witch or magician or whatever. It's all languaging, whatever makes you feel good. But right now, it's like we are mirrors. People are looking at each other for answers. And so they're like, this feels good, right? So they're like, I'm going to go to that. And I'm like, that's awesome. They're like, and then someone who's filled with hate and hasn't awoken yet and doesn't really come from love, from Christ consciousness of love, those people are the ones that are like stuck in the 3D, right? So even now with the election, it's like, it's kind of interesting because I saw so much in the last like few hours. It's been really cool, which is why I wanted to talk to you guys. But I just want you to not have any fear around any of this. Please don't have any fear around any of this. Don't feed the fear, embrace the light. The Lemurians, as far as, and through my understanding, through my meditations, through my relationships with the outer realms, the Lemurians were the first energy, the first entities, the first human beings. They came here of love. They were the first beings that were here. And, they're just making a comeback. And I believe I'm Lemurian. When I first came out, or when I was first coming into my gifts, or remembering who I was, so to speak, I remember that I was obsessed with crystals, right? So one day a Lemurian, or I was looking at this basket. It was like they had a basket of sale crystals, like, maybe somebody dropped and broke it or whatever. So it was like a shard or a piece, whatever. So I was looked there first because I, me, for the underdog. I always go for I'm like, go for the broken one and the good price. So I go over there. And I was like infatuated with this crystal, and it said $9, and it was big and it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, and I was like, this must be a quartz, I'm like, this must be a quartz, whatever. Long story short, when I put it in my hand, I was like, oh, smoky quartz, what is this or whatever. It felt like it was literally it felt like it burned through into my body, and I couldn't put it down. It was bizarre. Brought it up to the lady, and she's like, where did you get this? And she goes, $9. And I go, yeah. And she goes, where did you get this? And I said, it was in that little basket over there, whatever. And she's like, this is a Lemurian crystal. This is like a starseed crystal. She's like, this shouldn't be in there. I don't know why that was in there. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, that sucks. And I started telling her what happened to me. And she just like looked at me, and she kind of put it in my hand and folded it. And she was just like, then it's yours for $9. It was meant to be. And I was like, oh, really? And all the way home, I was like burning through my hand, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I went home, and of course I'm excited, whatever. And I researched it, and they said that if the Lemurian crystal feels like that, you're Lemurian. It's like, cause it felt like home. It's like, I just wanted to like sleep with it. And I did. And then it just disappeared. It was in my apartment. I didn't take it out of my apartment. It was the one I never took out of my apartment. And when I moved, I thought, oh, I'm going to find it. I never found it, ever. Never. It was crazy. And I don't seem to keep Lemurian crystals, but long story short, I've been having all these huge aha moments. And when I saw 11/11/2020, I told Adam, like, we have to do something really special on this day. And we've been talking about it for a while. But then when I heard that this is like this is the Christ consciousness, the Lemurians are coming back. It's like everything came together. So please be excited. It it looks so rough, right? And it may look rougher for a while, but I guarantee you it's almost like it's going to be the Glinda the Good Witch moment. And they're just, I don't know where they're going to come from. I've had visions of them where I'm like, they're coming out of the sky, but because of my relationships and how I see things, I wish I could put you guys in my head sometimes. I was telling Mel this the other day. I was like, dude, I wish I can like it's a movie for me. So it's like, I wish I can like, you know, put it in there. I'll have to maybe make a movie of it someday. But I do feel like I see something like that coming out of the sky. So I don't know if it's energy or whatever, if it's just the Lemurians are all going to wake up or they're already here. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to come out from the inner earth, from the mountains. I don't know. It's going to be fucking cool. That's all I know. It's going to be really cool. And so I had this conversation with this Christian woman, and I realized like a lot of the religions right now are all like seeing a lot of the same things around a lot of the same dates. Like we're all seeing that like Yule, like Christmas time, like, you know, around the winter solstice, like we're going to have this major shift. And by 2021, it's going to be like, bam, like the 3D won't even know how to like exist. So something major is coming. So also something that wicked this way comes, one of my spirit guides just said, but that's okay, because the song that got me to do this was Hit the Road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more. Yeah. So it's on its way out. It's like this right now. We all feel like this in the light workers. But remember this. I heard this girl say one time, oh my God, I'm totally an empath. I'm like, oh, you are? And she was like, yeah. And she was like, oh my gosh, I cry at movies and blah, blah. So then I started to ask her questions and she's like, no, not really. And I'm like, terms like that have been thrown around. HSP, highly sensitive person, sensitives, intuitives, like all of these things, a lot of words and languaging are being thrown around right now. Be mindful of like what people are saying and what they're thinking. Truthfully, there are very, very small percentage of the people on this planet who are true empaths. I believe most of us on here are, or at least we have empathic, you know, abilities. We're telepaths. We're all, I believe we're all starseeds. If you're still here on this Instagram channel, I believe that we are all star. I know most of us are starseeds. I believe most of us are starseeds. You may not have awoken yet, but you're still here for a reason. And those who like unfriend and then friend me, I'm like, I see what you do there. I see what you do there. You do you. You do what you got to do. You know, I almost started to block people, and then I was like, no, because that just means like you're going through it, and that's good, right? You're questioning it. Maybe you don't like what I say. Maybe I'm putting a mirror up. Well, you know what? I'm putting a lot of fucking mirrors up right now, and maybe you guys don't like what I have to say, but I want you to look inward for yourself and what feels right for you, because every person voted personally, right? On a personal issue. That's why the world is changing. The headlines I saw today, oh my, I'm about to get cut off, were amazing. Do you know New Mexico now has like 3, I don't know, they said women of color, but I believe one, I mean, I don't know for sure, but doesn't matter. It's awesome, right? And it's like, that's like a history record. There's all over. Some woman, her boss fired her for being a lesbian, and she just beat him for like something in like the police thing. You know what I mean? Shit's getting real. Shit's getting awesome. So even if they win, I don't think they will, but if they do, who fucking cares? You know why? Because shit's gonna get revealed. This whole month is all about eclipses and pulling shit back, but it's also about the second coming of the Christ consciousness. I love you guys. Take good care of yourself. Stay safe. Stay close to your families. I love you. Blessed be. Ow.